when it came to that emotional like aspect, like your cup was just empty. Like you were like, can I get some emotional support? And they're just like nah. What it do, YouTube? We are back with another video. This time we're doing things just a little bit different. I do have ambitions and aspirations to keep it more and more transparent on here, because I feel like that's just the best, you know? The idea of this channel is to connect, heal, and evolve. So definitely want to just give like bits and bits of my story and like how I became like the person who I am today, because you know, truly you got to go through some stuff to really evolve and to really alchemize and to just keep reaching higher and higher levels of yourself, because it's all possible. You just got to know how to alchemize what you've been through and know that literally everything happens for you and not to you. As you can see by the title, I didn't really know how else to really like name it. There's a lot of titles possible for this video, but I'm gonna just, you know, use the one that I feel like people could resonate the most, because like to me everything happened the way it was supposed to, right? But like if we're just thinking about the things that we experienced in our childhood and growing up, like, and you recognize like what the description of the actual word like means, you know, hence like dysfunctional when you like Google it. So I was just like, you know what, everybody's truly just unique in their own ways and have just infinite ways of displaying that, but it is what it is. I grew up with 4 other siblings, all older than me. I am a second generation Canadian. Sorry, I'm a first generation Canadian. Hold on, let me Google that. Oh, they said it's like either or. Okay, so technically, yeah, I am a second generation Canadian because my parents both immigrated to Canada, and then I was born here. So yeah, I'm basically like second generation. So yes, I come from a family where there are 5 children, same mom, same dad, and we all grew up together in a house, in a singular like household. But in my family, I'm not going to say was, because there still is, but there is a lot of hostility, lack of communication, lack of forgiveness, lack of love. Like, it just goes on and on and on. And not only that, but it was a household where people were or are so used to raising their voice and yelling and, you know, just going from 0 to 100 real quick to like solve any kind of like argument or confront something. Like it was really a lot. And you know, it's through that, especially where if you grew up in a house like that, you gotta just have the knowing. And this also helped me cope with coming from a family that didn't really like involve a lot of love, a lot of compassion, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of just, you know, happy memories to look back on. It's very important to know that they had to be like that so that you can be like this. So I always think, I'm like, you know what, like if each of my family members weren't exactly the way how they were and everything, like who knows how I would have turned out. Like I'm literally in this present moment who I am right now because of everything, every single thing that I've been through, every single thing. And if any of that was to change or just be different, like I can't I will never know exactly who I'd be right now, or if I'd even be doing this, but all that isn't to say that like it didn't hurt, like it hurt, like it really, really hurt. And with my parents, they never ever like expressed, saying like I love you, or like hugging us first. My mother specifically, whenever I wanted to like give her a hug and like kiss her on the cheek, like I normally have to like ask her, because like she didn't really like those kind of things. She would just say like, oh yeah, like it's not my love language. And whenever I would say like I love you, she would just be like, oh, like right back at ya. Or like thank you, or like something like that along those lines. It would never ever be like like an I love you back type of thing, which really did mess with me. It really did mess with me for a good while. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not fully healed from all that till this day. Like there are still moments where like I'm gonna get a little emotional about it, because I'm just not there yet, and that's totally okay. If anybody is just not there yet with healing from their trauma, and just all the things that they realized in their family was very much generational. Because you hear some stories about like how it was for your parents, and you're like, true. But I very much give a lot of gratitude to my experience at the end of the day, because I'm grateful that even though my parents probably didn't have the option of breaking those generational curses, and not passing down like their trauma, and just like a lot of the things that they didn't heal from onto like their next generation, I have that gratitude, because I was able to actually do that. I feel like our parents or some of our parents are very hustle and bustle, make the money or get the money somehow to like be able to like feed you and feed them, and like keep a roof over everybody's head. And sometimes they just don't have the capability to really just sit down and dive into that very uncomfortable stuff, because unpacking your trauma and a lot of things that brought a lot of tears, lonely nights, loneliness as a whole, and just feeling like you couldn't exist in a place, or just exist in general, without that cloud over your head, because of just everything that just kept happening to you, like back to back to back to back, or just followed you all the way into even like adolescenthood, or like your teenage years and such. Because I had been able to at least have my needs taken care of or handled, food, water to drink, place to shower, somewhere to lay my head at nights and sleep, just all those needs, like they're all taken care of. So now I'm no longer so worried about like the physical, and I can actually make time to sit with myself and really unpack everything that I've gone through bit by bit, meditate on it, and really just come to conclusions that help me shift my perspective. Because the thing is, what's happened to you happened, and you can't go back and fix that, right? You can't go back and undo everything and just, make it transpire like a different way. Like you can't. So it's something that you essentially can't change. When you're realizing that you can't change it, you have to just change your perspective and how you feel about that. And I didn't start unpacking this like for real in detail till like October 2021-ish, around that time. That's when I really started to kind of like dive into things. I got into like journaling and just all that kind of stuff, like on a more like frequent basis, to help me heal. Our parents are just from a whole different generation, like a whole different way of how they were raised, and for me specifically, and where they were raised, because my parents were both raised in Jamaica. So like, if you know, you know, if you know, that you know, because we love the Jamaican parents, but it's not for the weak. It's not for the weak. But anywho's, I grew up, fortunately, in a different environment, and, once again, like, who would I be if I didn't start my life here? There's also gratitude in, my parents, leaving the country and, like, coming here, and then having, like, all 5 of us, because who would I be without it? I just feel like it definitely is a lot to unpack, and it's a lot to heal from, because like, all you knew growing up was just like so much dysfunctional things, like things that really and truly are not like normal. Once again, everything transpires the way it's supposed to, and everything unfolds the way it's supposed to. It's all about how you alchemize it. You can just alchemize anything. It really baffled me growing up, and like realizing that like it was like just okay that one sibling wasn't talking to the other, and like it was just like like you don't exist in my like reality, and very much like grudges, their grudges were allowed to be a thing, or they are allowed to be a thing within my household. It's just kind of crazy thinking back on it, because my parents never intervened. They never stepped in and like sat like my siblings down and be like, hey, like we're family, like it's okay to like forgive, and like just those kind of things. But like, when you look back on it, it's just like you had a lot of your needs met physically, but when it came to that just emotional availability, you didn't have it. And it created, a desire to have like a safe space, like just elsewhere, as long as you could just have that safe space, because you couldn't get it at home. If you were opening up about something emotionally, it's not being validated, or you're kind of being told that like you're in the wrong, or you're just being like just too over like emotional about it. You gotta like thicken up your skin, all these kind of things, where it's just like, dang, like niggas can't be themselves. And that for sure also affects people growing up and feeling confident and just loved and just so purposeful, and feeling like they just have purpose. Because like, when you grow up in a house like that, it's like, dang, like, why do I even exist if like life is like this? And you just know it's not something that like should have been like happening, but like it just happened because that was just the flow of things. I was just the youngest one in the house. So even though I didn't really fully understand it, just observing it, I was just like, this could be different, This could be different. At the end of the day, it's really all about how you're going to want to like alchemize and look back on everything and realize what it taught you. Me, growing up in a house that lacked a lot of love and, true like emotional support, not just physical support, showing up each other's like birthday parties or like birthdays and like, like all that kind of stuff. Like, no, like, I mean, like being there for each other. It's like, we're family. Like, we are the ones who have known each other the most, up until now. Reverting back to what I said, when you realize it's a situation that you can't actually change, like, you have to change your perspective, go within and like really unpack that and see how much it's helped you to like focus on what you do want to become. Because I feel like it's just best to focus on what you want to become instead of what you don't want to become, because once again, you're just putting your attention more on something that you just don't want for yourself. So just focus on what you do want to become, because you've learned how much of a service it is to yourself and to others when you just focus on what you want to be and how you want to show up and how you want to just make people feel with your presence and with all that you are. But at the end of the day, I'm grateful for it. Like, this video is to literally just like be like, hey, like, I totally get it. Like, growing up in a house like that or in a family like that, and like things were just so much more like set in hostility, and like just not so feel good energy was always just roaming through the home, and like just that huge like elephant in the room, and like no one's like addressing it. Like, I get it. It was just not the greatest experiencing that, obviously, and all that kind of stuff really does bring about so much suffering that you're just gonna have to like eventually sit with, because, you know, especially if you choose to ignore all that kind of stuff and you decide to let your childhood trauma and not so good experience or not so feel good experiences back when you were, you know, a child and even like a teen and such, if you repress that and you decide to not want to acknowledge it, it's going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up in your friendships. If you decide to have a family of your own, it's going to show up in your family too, because that stuff can really get generational, and there's power, but still immense pain that comes with being the generational curse breaker. And there's so much work that you have to do on yourself to get to that point, for sure, 100%. To all those out there who are, you know, breaking generational curses and actually, you know, healing or starting their healing journey with their childhood trauma and just growing up in a, you know, quote, dysfunctional family, it's not for the weak. Like I said, it's not for the weak. And I'm so proud of you, because not a lot of people get there, you know. Not a lot of people are willing to start that journey and go into it knowing that it brings about so much pain and so much suffering. But you realize that you are an alchemist, and you can definitely take it as just learning moments, because it's so easy to grow up in a family like that and be the victim, or have the mentality that you're the victim of your life. I had to let that sink in for a second, because I was just like, yeah. I was like, yeah. That's a powerful thing. People underestimate the mind, for real. There's just so much potential in people like that, because it's through, you know, spaces like this where you can just pass on what you learned and what you know to help somebody else. Because most times it's just a matter of expanding that perspective. And once again, growing up in a quote dysfunctional family, you know, people are very much not open to expanding their perspective, because they are much more comfortable and they feel much more safe in just what they already know, or what they think they know. And they're not willing to like change anything like that. So, you know, power to you, because you have a mindset that is forever evolving and that is just set on growth. And that's going to take you so far the more, you know, you just continue to like analyze that kind of stuff and analyze your family members. It's also important that as you're realizing and unpacking a lot of the stuff you went through, and, you know, looking at, you know, how your family members conduct themselves and everything, it's important to not look down on them and, you know, kind of be in this like, oh yeah, like, you know, you're just like the super like low vibrational being. Because you are going to just act on that. You know what I'm saying? Just like how you act on everything else. When you have people in your life that you are truly grateful for and that you truly, you know, are just so happy that exist in your reality, you're going to act on that. You're going to let them know, you know, like, you mean so much to me. You know, I love you so much. You're going to show up for them. You're going to want to support them, like all that kind of stuff. You act on it. So if you're acting on, you know, seeing somebody as like this like low vibrational being who just like, just kind of like below you on the scale, like you're gonna act on it. So just see these people, once again, people who need to be like that so you can be like this. And also just people who exist in your reality to just help you climb that ladder of achieving higher versions of yourself. Like through the pain and through, the struggle and whatnot, truly comes a lot of growth. You can't just have every single thing in this life like handed to you without like actually, knowing what this kind of stuff feels like, so that you can turn it into something just greater and evolve and grow and just heal. Once again, it's not easy, but have the grace and just the overall gratitude that you're pretty much the first to do it. So it's not something that like you were taught. You just really had to go through it. You could have decided to just, harvest that and, ultimately become a victim of your life and just think that, everything happens to me because like my life is just not meant to be great and like all this, self-deprecating stuff. Like it's easy to just go that way because it's the easier way, when you decide to, sit through that suffering and like sit through that pain and sit through that sadness, sit through that loneliness, sit through like all the things that you were heavily in lack of, just spiritually and like emotionally and mentally. Like I get it, you had clothes on your back, food to eat, water to drink, place to sleep, somewhere to shower, all that kind of stuff. But when it came to that emotional like aspect, like your cup was just empty. Like you were like, can I get some emotional support? And they're just like nah. So, I get it, but there's a lot of power in, just choosing to become stronger and stronger and push through that kind of stuff and realize how much those experiences really molded you into the being that you are today. Whoever you are, like I'm just so proud of you because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak. So that is all from me. I love y'all so much. Keep it pushing, keep it moving. Healing isn't linear, but at least you're on that path. That's what's important. Because it's easy to just internalize everything else and just integrate it into your personality and your personal reality without alchemizing it. You just accept it for what it is because that's just how your life is supposed to be. Till the next time, thank you all so much for watching. And we're going to keep this momentum going, because definitely I do plan on talking more and more about just, this kind of real stuff. Because, like, you think you're alone and you come across this video and you're like, wow, right. Definitely, I'm not alone. So, know that you're doing amazing. Keep it going, keep it moving. Stay cosmic. Peace and love, peace and love.